I have two sons, and our younger son is our transgender son. He had said to me, "Do you think I would go through this whole process if I didn't know it was absolutely the right thing for me?" There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of struggle along the way, and if you're willing to go through that because you know what the end point is, what you want. So at that point, as a parent, you just step in and just, walk the walk with them so that they know they're not alone.
At the outset, you have to realize that transgender people have seemingly forever been demonized and discriminated against. People do this in housing, in employment, not because of who we are, not because of the skills that we have as people, but because of the way that we look.
I think what's different for us, unlike gay and lesbian people, when you start a job, you don't necessarily disclose your sexual orientation. But for someone like myself who doesn't have the identity documents that match up, I have to disclose to an employer that I had a different name or a different gender. And so we're set up for discrimination.
Massachusetts is widely seen as a state that is very advanced on LGBT issues. One of the earliest states to work aggressively to improve school climates for LGBT youth. One of the earliest states to add sexual orientation protections to our non-discrimination laws. But come 2011, Massachusetts had not yet put in place protections in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, and credit for transgender people.
It was actually hard when I spoke to people in other parts of the country for them to believe this, that Massachusetts, which is led on so many issues, could be dragging its heels on an issue so basic and so integral to the rights of transgender citizens.
The absence of discrimination, prohibitions on the basis of gender identity or expression meant that transgender people could get fired from their jobs, turned away from restaurants, denied housing, denied credit. Transgender students could face serious and significant discrimination in schools because there was no law that specifically addressed those issues.
We've had a campaign that had been going on since about 2007 to get a piece of non-discrimination legislation passed that would protect transgender people in all of those areas. And in 2011, we reintroduced that piece of legislation.
The Massachusetts Transgender Political Coalition was the lead organization on the Transgender Equal Rights Bill. And we worked in collaboration with Mass Equality, GLAAD. We had a coalition of almost 100 organizations at the end.
2011 was an uphill battle all year to reframe the messaging and really educate the public about who transgender people are and why they need these protections.
One of the things that we really tried to do was to get people to be more out and more visible about their stories and their lives.
A leader in our community said, "It's impossible to hate anybody whose story you know."
We put together short video stories of community members, family members, and allies, really folks just telling their story of everyday life.
We were able to really turn the media around and the public education message around.
Most people honestly have sincere questions, and we can make ourselves available to them.
When people know us, they come to understand us and they come to be with us.
In November of 2011, Massachusetts became the 16th state to add gender identity protections in the areas of employment, credit, education, and housing.
There was so much celebration when the governor signed this bill. It has changed the tide almost overnight, and people almost take for granted that these protections now exist. The major compromise that we had to make was around the public accommodations protections.
Public accommodations are all the places between home, work, and school. Any place that is open to the public. That's restaurants, bars, libraries, gas stations, public parks, and our community members do experience discrimination in those places. One of the top calls that we get are folks that are turned away from either restaurants or nightclubs for simply being transgender. We have 90% of transgender rights here, and we still have another 10% to go.
So really the question is, what will it take to fill in this last piece?
It took years and years of extraordinary work to get this bill passed at the state level, and one of the most important things that organizations here had to do was work together.
This work takes courage. And with the support of strong coalition partners, state and national, with the resources of the Gill Foundation and other individual donors, it makes it possible. It gives you the backbone that gives you the courage to get the job done.
Transgender people have been a part of communities forever. I always say we're about 20 years behind where the LGBT movement is in regards to visibility and our story being out there, and I think this is the time that we're starting to see that more and more folks come out and be out about who they are.
We have made tremendous progress in the last 10 years.
There should be no place we are not engaging. Everybody's minds can be changed.
Here in liberal Massachusetts, it took transgender rights advocates 6 or 7 years to accomplish this. But hard work and commitment, persistence, really can pay off.
The passage of anti-discrimination laws, which include transgender people in it, helps reinforce that we are no different than anybody else.
I guess that's the hope I have, is that eventually we can all be in that place where it's not an issue of what you are, it's an issue of who you are.